Hey guys, what's up? This is another weekly astrology and tarot forecast for Monday, April 11th through Sunday, April 17th. So, no joke, no lie. I'm going to break the ice a little here. You notice I have a different background. That Venus retrograde and Venus getting enclosed by the malefics and just all the things that happened this year didn't work out so well for me. I'm like currently separated from my husband. It was a little emotional getting ready to do this video. It was a little bit hard to do, like being in a new setup. I'm definitely feeling in a good place. I definitely feel like it was the right decision. Unfortunately, there were issues that are beyond just like regular fights. If you've gone through a situation where you're in a relationship with someone who's an alcoholic, who has substance abuse issues, who can be verbally abusive, emotionally abusive at times when they're not like their best selves or the person that you love, it can be really tough and really hard. And so, without going too into it, because you came to this forecast to actually get like the forecast of the week and not my story, like, that's my story in a nutshell. That's why I'm in a new setup. And if you're in that situation, my heart goes out to you. Unfortunately, you're not alone. I wish I was alone in my situation. I wish there weren't other people who have gone through the suffering in their relationships that I have and that you're going through. Um, like I don't wish that on anybody. So but anyway, you aren't alone because there's a lot of us that have gone through this. You have a lot of support. There are a lot of resources out there if you just, for you. And, Jupiter is still in Pisces, and that forecast was right. You're going to get a lot of support, but with Saturn in Aquarius, it really sucks, really sucks. But what makes me happy is doing this forecast for you. So let me get to it. In this forecast, I'm going to go through each day of the week, let you know the energy of the week. So you're not going crazy. Like it's an energy that we're all feeling all together. That's why I do each day of the week, like for the weekly forecast. And then at the end, I rock my tarot cards. I pull them. I do a reading for you to give advice on how to handle the week, how to get through it. All right. So for Monday, April 11th, we have this energy of like trying to assert ourselves. So there is the moon trine the sun. And so we have this like meaningful emotion communicated. It like feels brave. It feels hard to do. It may like feel like fighting to defend a position of ourselves, like fighting to defend our position for something that we believe in. And that flows with meaningful action that causes a fight. Like what we find meaningful riles people up. And it feels emotional and it looks like us rebelling and maybe doing something reckless or doing something unconventional that's fun and really like stepping out of our box. And then it's going to feel kind of harsh because we have like Saturn opposing the moon, like moving, or the moon opposing Saturn, moving into that opposition, which feels harsh. It does. So there's this meaningful emotion that we communicate that feels hard to do. Like later on, we still feel fired up, like defending our position, but then we hit an opposition that really feels hard to get past. There's like information that comes up that is really harsh. It causes a conflict. It feels really emotional. Like it feels hard, and it looks like like someone's not sharing information with us, or being sneaky or deceptive, or not forthcoming. Then we have these secret oppositions, like secret tensions going on called contra antishas. So we've got two of them, not one, but two, to just, make things a little easier for us and whatnot. Not okay. So we have a Sun Venus contra antisha. So we have this tension. So in one aspect, we have this like emotional pleasure and like harmony in our relationships. We're feeling confident. Maybe we're feeling like unknown parts of, or exploring like unknown parts of life or ourselves, like pushing past our limits. Like, what's beyond, that fence over there? Like, let me explore. Um, but that conflicts with like inspired action that may cause fights, like doing something like fun and rebellious. So there's like just this like energy of like I'm going to do what feels true to me versus I'm going to do what feels pleasurable, and something's not in harmony. So the sun is all about like honesty and integrity and doing what we feel is right and being a leader. And Venus is all about let me just whisper sweet nothings in people's ear, like let me just smooth things over. Let me just do things to like create peace so that I can do what I want. I can have pleasure. And Venus is not necessarily deceptive energy, but Venus is not about to like pull everything out into the light and reveal it. She's like, let's just enjoy life. And sometimes that means ignoring the elephant in the room so that we can just drink tea, eat cookies, enjoy our tea party. All right. And then we have a Mercury Mars contra Antitia. So we have like our physical needs being communicated in a pleasurable way, like, and it feels aggressive. Maybe we're like demanding like a booty call or something, or we want somebody to do something for us, like in a physical way, like with money or going out or with food or with like pleasure or sex or things like that. And yeah, and like we're trying to set the mood. Maybe we're trying to like do our makeup, get new clothes, like look good, get the sparks flying. But then we're gonna hit an opposition. Um to like it conflicts with there's like communication with people or even with ourselves or ideas or like feeling restricted ourselves or with or communication with other people that's like hostile and rigid. Um and it feels like they're being calculated and they're withholding from us. So it looks like someone is like avoiding you or playing hard to get. So you're not getting those physical needs met. Like there is like a tension between that. Okay. And then we have Tuesday, April 12th. So we have the moon opposition Mars. That's always a shit show. So we have fiery emotions that cause conflict. Whenever you have moon Mars, fiery emotions, conflict. And it's very personal because the moon is very personal. It's our body, our minds, our emotions. And it feels angry. It feels like a conflict. Looks like you are defending yourself. Um, and, you're defending yourself either with or against communication that's like fighting to be harsh. It wants to be harsh and it feels fueled by emotions. And it looks like someone's like trying to avoid the situation, like whatever situation is coming up. And it's like, oh, no, you didn't. Oh, no, you didn't. And you're going to be basically like, fuck you. Okay. So then we have the moon ingressing into Virgo. And so when the moon starts to ingress into Virgo later on, so it's going to be pretty harsh earlier in the day because then the moon is not having any supportive aspects, but then it's going into Virgo. And so we're going to move to getting what we want, moving to meeting like an environment that more meets our practical and physical needs. Hello. Okay. And so making plans related to that. And it feels very mischievous, very like clever, and looks like we're getting to work on something and most likely like meeting our physical or pleasurable needs. Like there is that like the fighting for pleasure energy where it's like we're going to get ours. And we do have like the north node in Taurus, right? Taurus, Venus ruled sign. And so it's hungry for pleasure. It's a hungry like north node that wants all the things that make us feel good. So the right foods, the right like comforter that makes me feel good, or you feel good, clothes, the people that make us feel good, like friends, like work, what did I say, money, sex, all those things, like getting good loving. Anyway, later in the day, we have the moon trine Mercury. So those practical needs like that we want that we're working on, we're making plans for it, we're feeling mischievous, and then that flows into um like our communication and our plans. So it feels very emotional, and even a little bit dreamy maybe, and it looks like the picture of perfection that we get to enjoy. So we make these plans for pleasure, And then it almost seems like we're creating or making plans for this perfect picture of what's going to happen, and it comes into view. Then later we have the sun sextile Saturn. So um, I was thinking of that as like inspired action that causes conflicts, right? Getting a little fiery, a little feisty with that Aries sun. And looks like us getting crazy to have fun and like being rebellious. And that's working together with communication that's hostile. Like there's something pleasurable about really sticking it to someone, like telling them what we think, or maybe being playful. Oh, maybe it's like uh I hate that I know this, but a couple years ago there was like this show where it was like, oh, it was like a pickup artist, which is so disgusting. It's like way to get into like the most toxic relationship ever. But they taught this technique called negging, and what it meant was that you say something like super negative to someone, like you insult them basically, um, and then that'll cause women to get interested in you, which is so messed up, but that's like this energy, and you may be doing it. Someone might do it to you, but this is like probably you're gonna do it, or maybe you might pick up on someone communicating something hostile, and it feels confident. Um, and it looks like us like piecing out, like feeling good about that, like being feisty, kind of saying something, I don't know, a little like negative to someone to get under their skin, to get them to notice us, to get them interested in us. Really, it's like that whole love is a battlefield type of idea. And then we're moving into the waxing gibbous phase of the moon. Technically, that is tomorrow, but because it's happening so early, I'm going to tell you about it today because you're most likely going to feel it. Not today, not today. For Tuesday, you're going to feel it. So, like, the waxing gibbous is interesting, right? So that's the phase of the moon where we're bringing like the chaos of our lives into order, trying to make some sense of it. And then the moon is opposition Venus, right? So that's all happening all together. So there's this need for that practical needs, and then also our emotions, having something emotionally fulfilling in our environment that produces pleasure. You're going to hear pleasure over and over. There is like a ton of Venus and even Mars energy going on. And so, like, this transit is going to feel pleasant, and it looks like we're working to like perfect some type of plan to meet our physical needs and our emotional needs. Um, and so, on the other hand, also, we have like emotional pleasure that feels nurturing, pleasurable like connections in our relationship that like feels emotionally nurturing. Um, and it looks like us creating a fantasy that's emotionally fulfilling. So like there's like these two aspects of like the practical and the physical needs, like making an aspect and really making something happen emotionally, like where our emotions feel involved and we feel connected to people and like super nurtured. So hopefully that's a good thing, although it seems like there might be a little manipulation and things not really being so upfront and clear. Okay, and then we have Wednesday, April 13th. So mainly we have the Mercury Saturn contra Antisha, and that's really the main aspect. Like that, there's really just one like major aspect that I'm considering for that day. Um, so that's a secret opposition between Mercury and Saturn. Like, might be a downer, might be a little serious. So I'm looking at this as like our physical needs, those physical needs being planned for in a way that includes pleasure, right? That continuation of like, I have physical needs, I need to plan for it, and it feels structured. It looks like us like being very particular about what we want and making it happen. Like we know what we want, give it to us. Um, but it's in opposition with information communicated to us that's harsh and creates a conflict. Um, and it feels like it kind of knocks us off of our game. It knocks our confidence off. It looks like someone has been holding back from us, like someone is being deceptive. So we're making this plan, but we're not getting like the full like aspect of what we need to do. And like there's somebody being cautious or being cold or nasty or, not bringing things forward. So um it's like it's like we're like, we're like hungry, we're horny, but like we can't get our needs fulfilled, like that type of energy. Okay, and then for Thursday, April 14th, we have that Mercury Antisha continuing, like trying to make those plans for pleasure, getting what we want, but being prevented from doing that. And that can be people, it can also be circumstances or, yeah, or like rules or things that hold us back. And then we have for Thursday we have the moon opposition Jupiter. So that's kind of nice when that hits because um it's going to be all emotional. Like the moon, it means we're getting emotional about our physical needs in a way um that it causes a conflict, but it's kind of like this is going to sound funny, but that conflict, right? It's like that emotional turmoil. It feels meaningful and it feels like it connects us with others. And it looks like us planning for the future because we see what needs to be done. Um, and that's cool. And that's kind of even like a practical aspect of the moon, right? But it's the moon, so it's still going to have emotional. And so that's in opposition with it's not even in opposition. This is just, I feel like, more so going to be like a productive aspect with this opposition. Because it's like there's two ends of the spectrum, but they're kind of both working towards the same things. One is more, like I said, practical physical needs. The other is just emotional nurturing, like feeling good. And so we're going to be emotionally connecting with other people who support us to create a fight. So there's this emotional turmoil, and then there's people going, I'm going to fight with you, or I'm going to fight with you. Or you feel like bringing out your emotions is going to bring you together with someone or feel meaningful in some way, and it feels really emotional. Um, but there's still this fantasy aspect. It still looks like us creating the perfect fantasy where like we can escape with others and not really like maybe there's a part that's like so emotional where like we can't see clearly for whatever reason for I guess the good part of the day. But then we're probably going to see a little more clearly when the moon later is going to go into Libra. So later in the day, our environment shifts to one that's like full of ideas and it feels structured, feels like we have our shit together. And it looks like us trying to be objective and see beyond our emotions. Maybe we have something, it's like super feel good. And then it's like, oh, okay, I feel clearer now. I feel like I got that stuff out. And it's like, wow, my glasses are on. I can actually see versus like trying to wander around, trying to see what's happening. Um, and then later, that theme kind of that continues with Mars is going into Pisces really late. And so that I see as emotional action that like creates harmony in our relationships. Feels a little mischievous to me. It's like we're pushing our boundaries, like we're getting underneath each other's like other people's skin, and it creates like um playfulness and intimacy and a nice type of friction. So I feel like it's a little bit different than I think it was Monday or Tuesday or whatever earlier in the week. Like it was like we're saying things that are harsh. But I feel like this is even more playful, where it actually is playful and it's not like we're like putting people down to get them to like think we're cool or like them, or we're putting somebody down. This is more like we say something playful that's gonna connect us, like we truly like notice something about somebody or see something and like they notice us noticing them, and it feels like more of a connecting thing, even though it does have a little bit of feistiness to it. And then for Friday, April 15th, nothing's happening. There's no aspects, just kind of a blah day. Okay, and then for Saturday, April 16th, we have the moon trine Saturn. So it's kind of nice. It's still like seeing clearly. So we have communication in our environment that creates harmony and pleasure. Like we feel secure, we feel like we have structure. Looks like us like relaxing and enjoying whatever conversations are happening. And this flows with us like communicating ideas that are maybe they could have been like polarizing or harsh or rigid. Um, that might create conflict and they feel emotional. But there's like a mischievous quality to it. There's a mischievousness, like, and we're defending our point of view, but it flows with our environment. It's not like creating like this like huge tension. It's like us laughing about it, and being able to see it objectively and not take things so personally, which can be really cool. And then later we have the full moon in Libra. Um, so it's like this culmination of ideas in our environment that seek to create beauty, harmony, and pleasure in our relationships. But there's an objective quality to it. There's a lightheartedness. It's more of like this mental energy that doesn't feel so heavy. And so we can feel a sense of confidence about them and about those ideas, and like in a place of peace with them. And this is versus like, you know, like the moon in Libra can be thinking of like our relationships and our responsibilities to others. And then we have the sun in Aries, right? The moon opposition the sun, the full moon. So there's also this like personal part of us that wants to take action that's meaningful and set solid foundations and like boundaries. But it feels more emotional. So there may be that tension between like having things work out, like feeling I don't know, like super objective about creating beauty, like pleasure, harmony in relationships, like feeling good. But then there's this like more emotional aspect of like, well, what about us? Like, what about our personal needs and wants? Like, how does that fit together? Like seeing both of these parts of us, and it feels more emotional and more personal. And so there's part of us that's like, okay, this is a good plan. I want to go along with us. But then we want to rebel because, I don't know, because there's a personal part of us that wants to express ourselves, but knows that it might like rile things up, or maybe it's not part of this like cool plan that like kind of is flowing in our environment. So it's like this feeling of like creating harmony versus like the little rebellious part or the big rebellious part of us that wants to like stir the pot and create mischief. Um, and then bad news, this day, so maybe a little bit intense because the moon is later after that full moon. Let's see, that was Saturday, right? That was Saturday. What day am I on? Yeah, Saturday. So later that day, this is going to be like crazy, crazy full moon day because the moon is going to go into Scorpio. And so we're going to see our environment change into a more emotional one that's intense, that's focused on defending ourselves. And it feels painful. And so it looks like maybe what we're struggling with is a change or a transition. Maybe we came up with a plan that really feels like satisfying. It makes us feel good. It makes us feel like, okay, like this is a good thing that's happening. And we had to take some of ourselves out of it. Out of it, like we had to take the personal out of it in order for it to work. Um, so later, like we're dealing with the emotions around having to accept a change or a transition. We realize that like something is ending and we have to move forward. And so we're struggling with like this feeling of grief. And so, that feeling of grief will flow with conflict or actions or fights that create pleasure in our relationships. Like, so we're grieving and we reach out for pleasure and comfort. It reminds me of like grief is the best aphrodisiac, like after a funeral, people are hooking up all over the place, or, like you end a relationship, like maybe you're hooking up all over the place. Not me, but I got that Venus in Capricorn. So I'm like, you're going to have to like, buy me a few dinners or more first so I can see what you're made of. But that's a whole nother story. But generally, like when we're feeling like that, when we're feeling a sense of grief, we want to reach out for physical comfort in some way. And so we feel like emotionally connecting with others, maybe some bad decisions, but I don't know, I think everything happens for a reason, but definitely emotionally driven, grief driven decisions, to connect with others. And it looks like us also exploring our limits, exploring our boundaries. Like we don't want to be held back or limited by life. And so we're just totally like just letting it all loose and doing everything that we know like that, or feeling like we want to do everything we know that we shouldn't do, because we're like, fuck this, like this is my life, like I don't want to be held back by restrictions, even though the reality is like there are some restrictions in life. Okay, and then on Sunday, April 17th, we have the moon opposition Mercury. That's definitely emotional thinking, foggy thinking. So it's like more of that emotional connections with communications, and we feel like all over the place. But there is an aspect of us embracing the present, really embracing the present moment. And like we know what's going to happen will end. And so we want to experience it before it's gone. We sense an ending. And so we want to just treasure like the present and really embracing what already is before things start to change. And that is like in opposition to looking at like real practical and physical needs and making realistic plans to get to them. Like, like we know there's a part of us that's like, okay, we really have to like look at this realistically. But we just feel emotional. And so it looks like we're just like doing our best to embrace the environment and make some type of peace with it. All right, guys, time to break out the cards and see like, what do we do with all this energy of the week? Like, what is the advice, from spirit or higher power or whatever? God, can I say God? Like, is that okay? I do say that a lot. Like my whole life, I journaled to God, but I also think of like God as everything. So I use a lot of different words. So whatever, let's see what to do with all this energy for the week. Because I feel like we're going to make some like bad decisions, but it feels good, in a type of way. All right, so the overall energy of the week, what do we have? Oh, we have the Queen of Swords. Okay, all right. So let's see what I'm getting from this card. We're acting like children. We are literally acting like children. We want what we want, and so it's kind of like this heart of a child where we want to get lost in a dream, we want to get lost in a fantasy. We don't want to look at the troubles that are happening. We don't actually want to look at those practical needs, but we do. Like there is a part of us that is looking and going, oh, okay, what a mess. Like let me just like look at this butterfly over here instead that's floating through the trees in the garden, and get distracted and indulge ourselves in that. There's definitely a head in the clouds like type of energy that like wants to let go of rigidness, like wants to let go of seeing things too objectively, right? And um so we might see even like other people acting like children, but I feel like there's a nice type of energy. It's like we're getting lost in the clouds, maybe we're not seeing clearly, maybe like maybe we know like there's some practical needs, but then it's like there's also this part where we just have to follow our soul, and we have to listen to that childlike energy within us, which is definitely like the sun in Aries like type energy that we're experiencing now. And so let's see what else is going on. I'm super interested in like what else is happening with that. So we have the Queen of Swords reversed as the energy, and I always put an image at the end of my reading so that you can see. Okay, so we got this one for like the situations that might come up this week. Ooh, it's interesting that I said Sun in Aries energy because we have the Three of Wands coming up. That is the Sun in Aries. If you haven't gotten my tarot and astrology cheat sheet to like see the associations, it's in the description below, or you can get it on my website, valentinelister.com. Go and get it. It's a really damn good resource. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so we have this energy like where we're being led like by our heart. There's a really like heart driven energy, like a heart centered energy. There's also this like separation, like there's also like I feel like this getting from this card is like there is this sense of people turning their backs on us and like not supporting us. And so we have to find a way to like reach out and support ourselves. Um, yeah, so like this week is like all about like seeking pleasure, like reaching out to people. There's a lot of like conflict energy and also seeking harmony, also seeking that solid foundation, but we're gonna have to like do it ourselves. Like that's the situation. Um, I don't know if we are going to be following our heart per se. Like, I do think there is like a deceptive quality to this week where we're not really looking at things so clearly. Um, and there's a lot of like heartbreak energy, but and we're going to really reach for hope and really for reach for love, really reaching for the heart. And I feel like there's going to be a part of us that feels deflated and doesn't feel like we can push forward. Um, and I just want to know like why that situation is coming up. Like, why is that coming up? Hmm. Interesting. Okay, we have the Seven of Cups reversed. Seven of Cups reversed. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's like those emotions getting in us. Like we have like this desire for pleasure. Like it's like I'm thinking of like the ego, right? Thinking of the ego's desires. So there is the heart, right? We have the sun in Aries, and that's like truthfulness. That's the childlike energy. That's a soul within us that reaches for the truth. It reaches for what's real and and like it's a part of us that has integrity that's like I'm going to fight for what's in my heart no matter what. I'm important, the soul within you is important. And it's like really keeping that childlike innocent spirit, but as opposed to we have the Seven of Cups reversed, and that's not childlike innocent spirit. That is getting lost in a world of desire and a world of temptation. And it also has this aspect of lies and deceptions to getting what you want. And I think that's part of why we're feeling so deflated and feeling like usually this card has a really nice energy coming through it, but like it's not. I'm like, why does this card feel so depressing like when I'm looking at it? And I definitely think it's like the Seven of Cups reversed. Um, where we're just getting so lost in our desires. We're getting lost in like these like shiny objects like in life, and temptations and the things that we think we want, that we think are going to give us pleasure, like things that like it's like creates death. I used to study Course in Miracles, which I don't anymore, but it's like there is a lesson of the many forms of death that we like create within ourselves. And it's always about, it actually doesn't even matter kind of like which, religion or spiritual practice you follow. There is a death in really getting too caught up with like things in the world like that are outside of us that like we're reaching towards to give us pleasure, because we never actually have to reach outside of us to experience pleasure. We just think that we do, right? Pleasure is an internal state. It's something we feel within, and it's something that we can actually create without all this stuff. That's what like meditation is all about. That's why it's important to sit with yourselves, because if you look beyond like what your mind is saying, if you look beyond like what you're actually like physically feeling, or like these emotions that like run us and like rule us, like emotions are actually a physical thing. They're related to the moon, which has a very physical quality. It's like there's these like waves of energy that run through us, but those are still not us. And then there's this bright, shining light that's our soul, right? And that's childlike and experiences pleasure. And no matter what happens to us, like where we're battered and bruised by life, it doesn't have any effect on us, right? It's still there. We just have these layers coming on top of them, and that really darken that light, and we can't see it anymore. And those are our temptations. And I'm not saying that this is even bad. It's just, it is what it is. It's part of life, right? It's not good or bad, but it definitely puts like a curtain over that light, right? Where we desire relationships because we think that relationship is going to be fulfilling and take all our problems away. It's not. We desire that food, like, that tub of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, and we're like, that's going to give us pleasure. And then it doesn't, because like we eat it, we feel like crap, like, and then we like, well, and then we get like, we're just judging ourselves, like, I'm so fat. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm eating like this whole thing of Ben and Jerry's. It's like going through my mind. Like, this is so unhealthy, right? Can't even enjoy it, right? Then we get to the bottom and it's gone and it makes us feel empty. And then I reach for another one, right? And then, we reach out to people to just say the right thing to make us feel better, and they don't. They don't, and they can't possibly know exactly what we're feeling at all times. Like, that's just life, right? We reach out for money. We think like money is going to create peace for us. And we just have this hunger, like, because life is really hard. That's the reality. It's really hard being a human and being able to feel peace and to feel that joy and feel comfort, because being human is having that blanket over our soul and not feeling clearly. So there's this hunger and this desire and us reaching out for things to make us feel better, and they end up, making us feel empty and not so great. All right, so what's the advice? Like, kind of a bummer, but I don't know. I kind of like the self-destructive energy. There's a part of me that really likes that. And I know there's a part of you that likes that too. Okay. The advice. The advice for the week is like, don't worry, girlfriend, indulge in those pleasures. Like, is this a man you're gonna meet? I like that. Okay. All right. Yeah, indulge in that person or someone that gives you pleasure. Like maybe you're reaching out to that ex, or maybe you're reaching out to that guy, he's bad news, but you're gonna do it. Or I don't know, like, um let me look at this guy a little bit more. mm, Reach out for that pleasure, reach out for that person, and indulge, because part of life is like being in that shadow and really experiencing it, and experiencing the joy of our shadow, of our dark side, like that gets lost in this pleasure seeking, and that's distraught, and that's like completely lost. Um, the advice is like, go for it, girl, like go for it, or guy, whatever. Really go for it, indulge, like reach out for that person. Don't be afraid to be a mess. Like, there's going to be a time where you look back at this and go like, hell yeah, that was worth it. Like, that time was worth it. So I like it. I like it. I'm feeling it. All right, and I'm just going to pull a card for the final outcome for the week. Interesting. We got a lot of people in this spread, which is interesting. So I think there's going to be a social element to this week. The final outcome, we have the Queen of Wands energy, Queen energy, confident. So cool, because that is connected to the Three of Wands. So there's something about like that self-destructive, like pleasure seeking, like trying to find pleasure in the wrong things, that is going to create a sense of confidence for us. um, yeah. And I feel like we're even, this is a person card, right? So I think we're going to embody that confidence. I feel like there's part of us is that going to embody that confidence. Like, I am who I am. I'm going to embrace my shadow down here. Um, and I'm going to embrace me, right? Maybe all of these things I reach out to, maybe my mind, my emotions, like my thoughts are not me, but they're things that I have, and I'm going to embrace what I have. Um, and I'm going to embrace me as I am, where I am, wherever my soul is, wherever it sees itself. I'm going to embrace that queen energy. Like, I am the bomb.com. This is me. Um, yeah, I feel like this is going to be us. Sometimes I'm thinking, like, I see this and it could be another person that we see that inspires us, that's super confident, that puts wind in our sails and helps us remember who we are. Right. So by the end of the week, we remember who we are. And like, there's going to be a lot of support for that, I feel like, because we have a social energy, we have a person or somebody you might see like in the media or something, or even with the pleasures, could be someone who inspires you. But we're going to remember who we are. We're going to remember our crown. Yeah. We're going to remember our crown by the end of the week and feel confident. So there is this thing of like, don't worry about being a mess. Like, don't worry about the mess that you are this week because, yeah, okay. So it's that thought of like, sometimes we're so afraid of failure and we think failure means something important versus like failure is necessary. Well, first of all, I don't know what perfection is. Like, I have never met anybody who's like perfectly happy or like feels like they've succeeded or done everything the right way. So it doesn't even exist. It doesn't even exist. But when you're doing anything in life, like you have to fall down. You have to fail at it. You have to mess up. Like doing anything, right? Um, for some reason, I was thinking of like learning to drive a car, but that's like a really bad thing to mess up at, like getting into an accident or whatever. So maybe I should have used that example. Um, but like I'll use the cliche of like walking, like a kid learning to walk. So I learned this fact like from a podcast I was listening to where like in order for a kid to walk, they actually have to fail. They can't learn it without failing because their muscles need to get strong enough in order, like a baby, their muscles need to get strong enough um, to hold them up to walk. So they literally have to get up and fall down, get up and fall down to get strong enough, right? And even you think of something like maybe you're learning to surf. I don't know how to surf, but I've been listening to a lot of people who surf, like podcasts or YouTube videos, right? And you have to get up on the board and fall down in order to learn how to surf. There is no way you're just going to get up on the board and learn how to surf, right? The first time. And that's us. Like, that's what's going on with the energy. That's our emotions. Like, I feel like the energies that come through us, the emotions, the thoughts, like it is a collective thing. It's something we're all experiencing. And it's literally like being in the ocean. Like being in your mind is like being in the waves of chaos and emotion. And like this, like if like I meditate, right? And it's like learning how to surf those waves of emotion. And I get my ass handed to me like all the time, right? Like I fall down, like, okay, I'm at peace, I'm good, or I feel good, or I'm feeling joyful. And then I yell at my kids and I'm like, oh crap, right? You fall, and actually, I don't know, is that falling off the board or is that life, right? Is the judging myself the falling off the board, or is the yelling at the kids falling off the board? Like that's what it's like going through my mind. I think about a lot of things, but we have to be a mess in order to get to the place where we want to be. It's kind of like we have to get messy to create. And so I think that's the message for this week. That's all I have for you. So I'm going to turn the cards over. But before I do that, just want to let you guys know to remember that if you like this video, you like these readings, to like, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when I release new videos. I do this one every week. If you want to book a reading with me, you can go to my website, valentinelister.com. I do chart readings and tarot card readings if you want a personal reading to know what's going on with you. And oh yeah, and I'm teaching about tarot. I'm gonna move into astrology, teaching about astrology soon, which I'm super pumped, super excited about. So yeah, love you guys. I will see you soon. All right, guys, as promised, here are the cards for you to look at for the week. So, all the way to the left, we have the Queen of Swords reversed, which is the overall energy of the week. The second card to the right is the Three of Wands, and that represents the situations that may come up this week. The middle card is the Seven of Cups reversed, and that's why these situations are coming up. The fourth card from the left is the King of Pentacles, and that is the advice for the week. Go get it, girl. And then we have, last but not least, on the end, we have the Queen of Wands, which is the outcome of the week. Putting on our crown, remembering who we are. All right, love you guys. See you soon. Bye.